Okay, Derbyites, days away from the 2014 Emmy Awards. We're looking at the race for Best Drama Actress. There is more drama surrounding this race than any other because almost all of these gals can win. And I have spent the last few weeks moving the players around in the prediction center, up, down, various times, picking nearly all of them. I have settled on one as my placeholder till right before Paul turns off the prediction center. And let me come to you, Chris. You and I both have Claire Danes there in first place. I have her there because she has won the last 2 years. I think that in a very close race here, she needs fewer votes to win. I think she has the strongest episode, arguably. But let me hear your argument first. Why do you have Claire Danes first?
I've got her in first, not because she's won 2 in a row, but because the episode is so good. It's the finale of the season. It's a kind of an action-paced episode. Obviously, spoiler alert here, if anybody has not seen Homeland from way back in the fall. But Damian Lewis's character, who is her lover, and she's carrying his baby. After all these episodes of deception, he is finally being hanged, and she has to watch that. And her reactions leading up to it, she does have some final moments with him, in person and on the phone, and then her reaction a few months later, it skips so forward in time, and she's still sad over it. And it's a really strong submission. I think she does have a chance at winning, but this is one of those categories where I could really be swayed. So I want to hear arguments for her and other people, because I think I'm going to change my mind.
Paul, you are going for
Julianna Margulies.
Why?
Well, it's interesting. Even as Chris was talking, I thought, how convinced am I about Julianna Margulies? And I'm not. I mean, this really is a category where I think any one of them could win. I have her because it's not the greatest episode, but the season was so good, and there's a feeling that it was a very strong year for that show, and it was a very weak year for Homeland. I think you're absolutely right, Chris. That episode of Claire's, the finale, in a way redeemed the whole year of the show. But neither of them's nominated for drama series. Homeland's won, Good Wife never did. But there was that sense that that the series disappointed, and I know we're talking about specific actors, voting on actors, looking at specific episodes, but it just feels of the two that Julianna Margulies is on the hotter show, the hipper show, the show that sort of made a comeback, whereas Homeland's sort of fizzling out in some people's minds. And now, having said that, last year I was all for Kerry Washington, who was on the hottest show. It was red hot, it sizzled, scandaled, that I thought she was going to be able to beat Claire Danes. And Claire Danes won with, I think, an episode that was not as strong as this year's. So, having said that about Julianna Margulies, I'd probably be changing once or twice before I turn off that prediction center in 10 days' time. Well, what about Kerry Washington, Tom? I mean, do you think that she was... Is there a chance for her to win this year when we all thought she had?
Absolutely. I was absolutely blasted away by her episode. Last year, her episode was good. This is where she's, she had a big sex scene. She has one this year too. But she had, there were tears. It was very, very emotive last year, and I thought, I was tempted to switch to her too because she could do it. But there's something more serious about. Serious is the wrong word. There's something more commanding about this episode. Mm-hmm. And you see many, many facets of her character's side there, and she's just in charge of that screen, and she's wowing you with every little speech she gives, and she's just kicking butt, taking hostages. There's a big sex scene, as I say, and a deceptive one where she gets, she seduces someone to get something, that his cell phone. It's just masterful. The soapy nature of the show could detract from her.
That's right.
As I was watching that, I kept thinking, God, she could really win. It's a much better submission than she had last year, where last year's was more weepy. Now, Julianna Margulies, I had her in first briefly there a few days ago, and I moved her over. For the reason, what I like about her episode, Paul, is that because we know her so long, as a star. We've been with this woman through ER and the rest of it. When she experiences Will's death, it feels like a death in the family. She just spends the whole episode mourning and depressed and mooning around the screen, and that's okay because you feel for her. It really hits you. Now, her episode is very similar to Michelle Dockery's, because hers is the season opener of season 4 of Downton, where she's just recovering from the death of Matthew, her lover, and she's just mooning and brooding on all of that stuff throughout most of the episode. Till you have no sympathy with her. She's just being a bitch. She's just being aloof. She's insulting the servants. But
she's
then
being Mary. That's Mary. Come on, she's not.
That's true. That's true. And then she has her big sobbing scene. She works down, and then she does something that Julianna Margulies doesn't do, which is that she has a character transformation. She snaps out of it, and she marches into that meeting at the end to save Downton Abbey, much to her father's surprise. And that's a commanding kind of wow moment. It's really, really great.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting, and a couple of points you raise, and I just want to go back to, 12 Years a Slave, one of the reasons it won Best Picture is that Fox Searchlight did a great job of getting the message out there. It's time. No film by a black filmmaker had ever won Best Picture. No black actress has ever won Drama Actress. It just, to me, and I felt that sort of social import might have carried her to victory last year. I mean, Tom, you're out there, you're talking to people. Is there any sense of awareness of that? Do they realize that this is a category?
No. And I'm not there right now. I'm up at my cabin in Pennsylvania, as you might see from the forest behind me. But yeah, no, there really isn't. They should have played that up. Yeah, they did get played up last year. We and many other sites were talking about.
Well, in fact, Kerry Washington, when she was presenting on the Emmys with Diane Carroll, a groundbreaker in terms of African American women on television, I really had almost a feeling like, oh, she's going to win, because look, the Emmys know this, that it's sort of a blot on their history. So, Chris, where do you, in terms of Julianna Margulies and Kerry Washington, Michelle Dockery, where do you sort of rank their performances if they're not in first?
Well, the hardest thing about this category is, who do you put in 5 and 6? Because really, if I was on a debate club in high school, you could assign me any one of these 6, and I could argue you that they could win. And in the case of, say, Robin Wright, I don't think it's much as episode as it is. She's arguably the biggest film star of the 6. Her show is up for Best Drama, which most of these ladies can't say.
Right.
And she just won the Golden Globe. And I think there might be an undercurrent beyond the episode submission itself, where she just doesn't have a lot of screen time, that she could just pull off a win here because they like her. She could be everybody's second choice, which would bring her the win the way that the ballots are counted. The person we haven't talked about here that has a submission unlike really especially all these weepy, sad, getting over the death of people episodes, is Lizzy Caplan. I think is just a spark of energy in her episode. She's so winning. The character is so winning that she goes beyond the boundaries of 50s culture to charm this doctor into to being on his staff, even though she has no qualifications. And she does that to the audience, too. And I know that Showtime was thinking about that when they chose the pilot, is she wins him over, maybe she'll win voters over. And she even gets to punch a guy at the end. No woman really was.
He punches her, too.
Yeah,
they go at each other.
And, I think she's a real sleeper here. I think her biggest challenge was just getting a nomination, because the show didn't get many. Just being in there and being seen by the voters, she's got a shot.
In a way, like she's the bagel on a plate full of onion rolls. She's different, right, Tom? Doesn't that could stand out when you're watching the tapes if you're a voter? It's something different, and as you said, it's not sort of the.
And I would dare say, in her case, the other 5 all have a history, a career, a history. Voters have seen them in films and other TV shows and stuff. Several of them have won awards. I have a feeling that quite a few voters were watching that Masters episode, and watching her in particular. She would have been like a discovery to them. I don't think many of them, unless they actually watch Masters, which actually helps her in a way because they've seen the whole season. But I think she might be the kind of person that they go, I was expecting that from Robin. I was expecting that from Claire. I was expecting that even from Juliana. But I didn't even know who this Lizzy was, and boy, she's great.
Well, she's very, very charismatic, and you just like her, and there is a sense of discovery, as you say. But Chris, there's not the performance there. That's the problem with that. You feel a personal kinship with it because you just like this woman. You're rooting for her. Yes, I absolutely agree. She could absolutely pull off an upset. It's very, very possible, but I don't think it would be based on the strength of the performance. In the case of Robin Wright, the episode she chose, you're right, she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but she does have one big scene where she's on the staircase, she sits and she cries, and this is the finale of the last season where, of course, spoiler, he becomes president of the United States. All of their scheming pays off, so their dreams come true. It has a kind of grandeur to it, the whole thing does, as a story arc, but I don't think she can win either. I think she would have been better served by picking the episode early in the year where I think it was number 4 where she talks about her rape and she had more screen time there. But sometimes screen time doesn't matter, as we know. I don't know, but let me tell you why I think Claire Danes.
And her third in a row. Her third in a row. Right?
Third in a row.
And you know that it does happen, but it doesn't happen as often as people think. 3 in a row. It's been a while, in fact.
Bryan Cranston did it on the drama.
Bryan Cranston might have been the last person to do that.
Yeah, on the drama side. But her episode does have the first half. It's very boring. You're like, oh my God, get through it. What's going on? And then things let loose. She reveals her pregnancy to Damian Lewis, and of course that's just a very tender thing. And then there's all this intrigue and action that you're talking about, Chris, and that's great. And then at the end, when she has to witness his hanging, it's really, really brutal. And then there are these scenes at the very, very end that are kind of tender, and you see him being regarded in some heroic ways after all the horrible things this man has done to himself, his loved ones, and his country. But she has the gravitas, the grandeur of it all. It's the biggest performance out of all of these. But I could see.
Let me ask you this, Tom, in the case of Homeland and in the case of Claire. If I'm a voter and I'm a little bit of aware of what's going on in the world, and I'm not just strictly going by episodes, I think I would honestly rank her 6th. I wouldn't want her to. I mean, I would say, okay, she's been amply rewarded here. She's gotten 2. I don't want to see her win a 3rd. Look, Tom, you're talking about 70 voters. If 4 or 5 people do that, and I would be one, I got to admit, if I was on that panel. The other thing I would be thinking is, if let's say I'm a fan of Homeland, I'd be going, this season was awful. It fell off the radar in almost every Emmy category out of all of a sudden. Do I really? Was this performance? Was this show worthy of a big Emmy win this year?
They're not.
All you need is 3 or 4 people.
Come on. Oh no! Look, let's go back to the voting process here, which is this. Paul? What do you think is everybody's number 2 vote? Forget if you're Michelle Dockery or you're Claire Danes. Who is everybody's number 2 vote? I think it's probably Julianna Margulies, right?
Well, no. I mean,
or Claire Danes. Whatever you pick first.
I don't know. I almost think that it could be Lizzy Caplan. I mean, I think it could be the thing that's different from everything else. That in a way, it's kind of like Chris said, breath of fresh air, the ingenue. That's something different. Not one of the a younger.
Let me ask you. I mean, I don't think the people that vote for Claire Danes, obviously, they were. I agree that it's an incredible episode, an incredible performance. They're going to vote her first if that's the way they want to think. I don't think there's many people beyond those folks that are going to vote her 2nd or 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're either going to vote her first or they're going to vote her near the bottom.
Right.
I don't think she gets many 2nds or 3rds. The person I think that would benefit most from that, I can't imagine the person after this Good Wife season and the way that they love her in the industry that votes Juliana lower than 2nd or 3rd.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's Tom always, when we talk about the Oscars, I often hear Tom saying, Katharine Hepburn said you win for the wrong role. So sometimes I guess people can win for the wrong episode. So maybe Claire Danes has won in the past for episodes that aren't as strong as this one, but she ironically will lose for this one. That is her. I think of the three, the strongest. So it's a confusing business, this Emmy game. The Oscars are much easier.
Yeah, that's what's so much fun, though. It's the reason we love these things. Is there's so many factors and wild cards to track.
I think I've been talked into Juliana. I wanted to, well, it's good to have this kind of discussion because I just don't. As we talk about it, I can't imagine the person that votes her lower than third.
And I've just talked myself out of her. I'll probably be switching from her. So the odds will stay the same for her because she loses my vote but gets Chris's. Okay.
Well, and Kerry Washington is such a discovery here because her episode is far superior to last year, and her Happy Birthday, Mr. President episode last year was great. So if you talk about a discovery, Kerry Washington is arguably the biggest star on TV right now and the hottest show, if you define it by that genre, and she is, talk about likable. You're really rooting for her to kick butt, and she's doing devious, horrible things to people. But just
Tom,
taking no hostages.
Because of that, shouldn't she have been just a cakewalk winner at the Globes? I know that there's no similar voters or anything, but I mean, they love that kind of person to be their winner, and the fact that they chose Robin Wright over her says something maybe a little bit about she's not.
Let me tell you why Robin Wright won. All right. And it's because the Globes had never given any awards to Breaking Bad. They were aware of that. They looked foolish historically, so they went a little overboard on Breaking Bad. And the one thing you can always count on with the Globes is that they sit back at home and they look at their ballot and goes, we didn't give anything to Stodds. We have to give we didn't give anything to Showtime. And so they had given away all those House of Cards votes already, and they needed a Netflix win, and I think that's a terrible thing, but that's often how they think. Kevin Spacey, of course, should have been Best Actor last year. House of Cards certainly deserved to win, and would deserve to win here at the Emmys. It's such a great show. But I think that they were doing that. We saw a lot of it last year, where they were giving Lifetime this one. Was it Lifetime? I don't know. They divvied it out to all the networks.
In fact, I voted strategically last year in our prediction center. I thought for certain, I believe I had Breaking Bad in first to win, which meant that's where they were going to reward it. And also, Cranston's a producer, so he would get an award there. I thought for sure Kevin Spacey would win actor, to get the House of Cards, the Netflix vote, and then Kerry Washington would win, actress because she's so popular in the industry right now.
But she's ABC.
Yeah.
She's not one of the cool channels. I think that was her detriment there. She certainly is the kind of sexy superstar the Globes love, but I don't think she had that network IOU that the other competitors had. All right, that said, basically we don't know what's going to happen, so we leave it to you, these wise viewers of our Slugfest, to figure this one out for yourself, and please enlighten us, because this really is fascinating, and that's why we love it. This is a real derby race.
But there are other chats that are forthcoming where we're much more certain, right, Tom?
Yes, and those are more fun when we take a fall after having been so certain. At least we have an out in this one, and that's our out.